Alright, what's up guys, it's Skills, and today's video is going to be a specific video that I normally haven't done before, but it's going to be a tier list video. So this is going to be a video that I specifically think is going to be very controversial. So basically in the comments below, let me know if you guys agree with some of the units, or if you guys don't, just let me know. I kind of want to talk about this and discuss what is really good for this. But basically I'm going to make my own tier list video, and I'm going to basically talk about the units that I think would be ranked in their specific spots. So of course we have some units that aren't in the game right now. So these are currently all the units that should be in the game. So I believe there's 60 units that are in the game currently, but if we go down a little bit, you will see the units that aren't in the game currently, which are going to be all the coin shop units. So you have the Bond, the Demon Melee, the Gother, the Merlin, and then the other ones that you of course don't have to summon for, like for example the slime units, which I don't know if they're going to come out, honestly I'm not sure. For global we're never sure. Gallon, and you have Escanor, and so on. So and of course this Halloween actual Meliodas and Elaine, those of course it was Halloween time, so I don't know if that's gonna happen, or it might happen whenever Halloween comes around. But basically, to talk about the units I specifically have on my tier list is going to be specific units that I think will be very useful for you. So for example, the first two units are in the God tier. So the God tier is of course for right now in the global version. This is just a global launch basically tier list, but whenever new units come out and stuff like that, then the tier list will switch up. So if you guys want to see another tier list video of mine, I will do it whenever global updates a lot more in the gaming. But first I have Green Meliodas. He is in a God tier because he is insane for one, story mode, as well as two, he should be decent for PvP currently right now just because it's still fresh, but he is literally the best unit to have for the story mode. Reason why is because his full counter on his skill attacks are crazy. You can literally do over 100,000 damage, and he's very, very useful for that. He's going to be your hardest hitter currently in the game, just for what he does. He's insane with his full counter, so that's why I put him in God tier. I put, of course, King as well. King is insane. He is literally up until JP's version, he is still one of the best units in the game, and he's a free-to-play unit. So you get this unit in, I believe, Chapter 3. In the game, so of course you guys should have gotten it by now if you guys are playing the story. So he is still very good. He is a healer and he's a petrifier. So when he petrifies, he of course allows or he doesn't allow the enemy to attack you because they're basically stoned, so they can't move or anything like that. So those are my two units in the God tier currently in the game, because it is global launch. Not all the units are in it, or I'd be saying like Gother definitely up there, but I'm not going to do that because these aren't the units that are currently in the game. Now we're going to talk about SS tier. So SS tier, I was a little I thought about this a little bit. Really, I personally would say if it took a little bit longer in the game, if we were a little bit more updated, this Arthur right here would have been a God tier unit. I personally think that he would have been God tier for a fact, just because he is an insane support unit because of his second skill, which is one of the best, I think one of the best skills, where he buffs up your units, and then of course he allows you to be immune to debuffs. So really good unit in my shout out to what's the name, Browning, for subscribing to the channel, guys. To start real quick, if you guys haven't already, guys, make sure to go ahead and subscribe to the channel, guys. This is insane. The whole support on the channel has been crazy, so I appreciate every single one of you. But let's get back to the video. Let's see. So I also have Jericho. Jericho is honestly, if I could say this right now, Jericho would probably be God tier if we had her updates later on in the game. In JP, she's till this day now, she's actually really, really good. Currently right now in the global version, she's pretty decent. She will get her buffs whenever later on. So I put her as SS tier for now. I would put her as God tier, but currently I can't do that, so we'll keep her at SS tier. Hauser. Now Hauser, I personally think is a really good unit because one, he's very good for farming. So when he first came out, no one really thought about him being a pretty good unit, just because he didn't seem like he was doing a lot of damage as an SSR, but he has one of the higher base stats for attack, so you want to worry about that for sure. Make sure to actually get him on attack and defense, so he can do a lot more damage. And since he is an AoE unit, he will attack literally everyone, so that's good, and he'll do a lot of damage from that. So that's why I would keep him in SS tier. He's really good. You have Blue Deanne. She is a free to play unit from the story mode. I think you get it from chapter 5. She's really good as well. She's an AoE attack unit as well, so I would personally say she's pretty good to have in SS tier for now. This is current for global, so don't think that she's gonna be really amazing later on in the game. This is just current global base talking. So another unit, Slater. So Slater is a coin shop unit. He is in the SR coin shop area. So one good thing to know is that this Slater is going to be really good for the red demon raid, which it should be out in the game already. So that's why I put him in the actual S tier list. So as you can see, if you guys have been playing the JP version, a lot of the SS tier units right here are actually going to be from demon raids basically. So you can see like there's a blue Slater, you have the blue Bond, green King, green you have green Guild Thunder, and red Elizabeth and Hawk. So let's just keep on going with it. Green Hellbrim, he's really good because he's a really good healer, and he does an actual stats boost as well. So that's why I keep him as SS tier support unit. So he's good in my eyes. So you want to keep him around for sure. Then you have Blue Bond. He was only Yuki so much. Thank you so much for subscribing to the channel. But Blue Bond, he's good as well. He is only good for one reason though, and that's the red demon raid. So he was actually specifically made for it. So it's supposed to be blue. John, thanks so much. I think I need to turn that off, honestly. Okay, hopefully I turned it off, but I literally appreciate everyone that has been subscribing to the channel, guys. It's been crazy. If you guys have already subscribed, but let's just go ahead and get on with it. We have the blue Bond. He is good for one reason, and that's the red demon. So I'm gonna keep him at SS tier for that reason, but he's also pretty decent for in the global launch right now. So I'll keep him at SS tier for that reason. The next unit, Green King. He is only good for one reason as well, and that's going to be the Gray Demon. That should be coming out pretty soon. Once like the couple updates come up for global, you'll see that the Gray Demon pops up, and of course that's where you're gonna get Green King. And Green King is literally the best unit to have for it because he does insane damage to him. So we'll talk about that whenever that does come out, and we'll talk about which units you would be good for it. But for now, we're gonna keep him at SS tier just because he's pretty good for that. You have Green Guild Thunder, a very good support unit. He also boosts up stats as well as a support unit. And then the other unit right here, I guess I didn't turn it up, but I can still hear it. Okay, so regardless of that, let's just continue. Another thing is red Elizabeth. Red Elizabeth right here, the SR unit, is going to be really good because she is a very good unit you can have for the red demon. She's just as good as Slater, and she's good because she's an SR unit, so you don't have to worry about putting so much effort into an SSR unit. SR is really good for that. So we're going to leave it at that as an SS tier unit. Then you have S tier. So this is where it's decent. For a global version, I would say Bond and these two Bonds are really good. So you can tell that SR Bond, if you guys have used him already, he's good for ult gauges, take away ult gauges. This Bond, he's just good for taking like defense related use, and of course some his attack's pretty strong, honestly, compared to this SR Bond. For those two, I put them at SS tier for that reason. Then you have Elizabeths. These Elizabeths are really good. They're healers. This one's the healer. The green one's the healer. The red one is only good for one reason, and personally, I think it's only because of her passive. Her passive is because, let's just say your next turn, you get hit by an enemy. Then the turn that comes back to you, she gives 10% back of health, which is pretty good, honestly. It stacks up later on, you know, like, and how much she's going to heal you. So it's really good. Honestly, I would say she's really good for that reason, so I keep her at S tier. Now, Gustav. Gustav is really good because he is the alternative of this red Merlin right here. So this red Merlin, if I had to say, she would be an SS tier unit, but currently she's not in the game, so we will keep her away from that. But he is the actual alternative, and he is a free-to-play, well, I don't want to say free-to-play unit, but I'm putting quotations around that free-to-play unit. But he's a coin shop unit that you can get from that, so definitely get him as well. He's good because he freezes, and that's a really big deal. He's the literal alternative of Red Merlin, and he's good for actual boss raids, or not boss raids, demon raids. The Red Demon for sure, so super good for that. Alioni. Alioni is only really good for one reason in my eyes, and that's his passive. He boosts up green type units for 10%, which is good, and he's decent. I mean, everyone will meme this one because of me saying that he's an S tier unit, but personally I think for where global sitting, he would be really good to boost up some green tier units, so, or green type units. So it's really good to know that he is pretty decent. Later on, you'll understand that you can work on him, and you probably will level 80 him you are him and stuff like that. But I don't want to make this video too long, so we're just gonna go through with it. Hopefully you guys are enjoying today's video, and let me know in the comments below if you guys do agree with any of these, or if you guys don't, or if you don't agree. I wanted to pretty much talk about this and see what you guys feel as well. So the A tier units, you have I forgot her name, Maradona, whatever she named herself. She's decent. She does a pretty good amount of damage, but she's very not really there. Like, she doesn't really do anything for you. So if you did pull her, I mean, she'll do some damage, but currently in the global version, I mean, I would say she would do some damage, but she won't be doing any hard hitting damages, so that's why I put her as there. Then you have Green Elaine. Green Elaine's just kind of there, honestly. There's a lot of these units that will be just there. You won't really see like what they're really meant for, but for what she does, I mean, she's decent for healing and stuff like that, those purposes. So not healing, but so now we have Elaine. So Elaine is pretty decent for what she is. She's gonna be a decent unit to basically decrease skill rank. So she is just like a Bond. I think it was the red Bond. I believe it was red Bond, but she's good with that as well. So she decreases skill ranks. So when she does that, then she can also take away ultimate gauges by the number of skill ranks she decreases and stuff like that. So you honestly won't use her. If I had to say anything, I would put her in D tier, but I'm gonna be nice and keep her in A tier. Then you have Green King. So this Green King, the Fat King, he's decent as well. I keep him in A tier because, like I said, these are the kind of units you really don't look at or use. So I'm not gonna like make a big fuss about it. I'm just gonna keep the units that you kind of are gonna use, which is going to be from God tier up until S tier, a lot more than, you know, A tier. So they're decent. He is, of course, going to be an attack all unit as well. So it's good to know as his first attack. And then his second attack is going to be a debuff. So he does poison as well as a pretty good amount of damage. But what poison does is that it's an additional damage equal to 50% of damage dealt at the end of every turn. So it's like slow death for the enemy, but personally I don't think it's good. Hendrickson, however, I would have kept him at S tier, but he kind of just fails at some things. He's good because he ignites, and that's a pretty big trait for a unit. Because igniting is pretty good, because one, if you ignite, then you can do a lot more damage. So this himself, like, he's good for that reason, but I wouldn't keep him anywhere above A tier currently, unless he somehow gets a really big boost or buff like crazy or something like that. I don't think he's gonna really matter at this point, but he is good also because he does lifesteal, which heals for a portion of the damage dealt, so he can get some health back, which is really good. So good to keep in mind, but I don't think you should worry about him too much. You have Gil Thunder. This red Gil Thunder is really good defensive unit, so I would keep him around for sure. If you can. He is good for taunting, and taunting is really good because if you're trying to get one unit to like not die, or if you're trying to get a unit to you know, get their ult pretty fast, then you can get this red Gil Thunder, and this red Gil Thunder will basically defer all the attacks from, you know, let's just say Meliodas to Gil Thunder himself. So which is really good because some units do need that just in case. So that's why he's a really good tank. So if you guys can put defense and HP into him, you'll be pretty set for him. So just keep in mind that he is good for that reason as well. Then you have this blue Gother. I really never looked too much into him, but when I did, he kind of was useless. So he doesn't really do that much, other than if a unit was debuffed, then he's going to do a lot more damage. But you don't really see that much on debuffing currently right now, so I keep him at A tier. So he's just really good at debuffing and disabling buffs, so that's pretty decent, but for now it's not going to really matter too much. Then you have this Kung Fu Diane. She's decent. She only like is gonna do a pretty good amount of damage, but I wouldn't keep her around because of that reason. She will probably be good later on, probably for you, but right now, currently, I don't think she's gonna matter. You can put her in, I guess, PvP and see what she can do for you, but I don't think she's really gonna matter personally. So I keep her in A tier because these are like the mid-range units that won't really do too much for you, but she does do pretty good things like decrease the defense related skills, which is pretty good for you know, story mode, because there are some times, or if you're playing, let's just say PvP, because defense is really good. And then you can have other units that ignore defense, like let's just say Red Elizabeth and Hawk. She ignores defense, which is really good to keep in mind. Then you have this Green Bond. This Green Bond is kind of useless in my opinion. I don't think I've ever seen him do anything good for you know, a team or anything like that, but I'll look at him too because I don't remember this one specifically. So he does lifesteal as well, which is pretty cool. But one thing is, so his second skill is a debuff. It's called Extort. Well, he does Extort. Decreases the target's stats and increases own stats by the same amount, which is cool as long as you're fighting someone that's even stronger than you. So that could be cool. I could say he could be decent, but as an A tier unit, makes sense. Then you have Blue Elizabeth. Blue Elizabeth is going to be a decent unit. You can run her for the Red Demon, so she does pretty decent damage. I've seen her do like over 100,000 for sure from that. But as herself, she is a unit that is going to do a lot of damage based on how many buffs she has on herself. So her amplify is what matters. So amplify damage dealt plus 30% per active buff on self. So if she gets the buffs, then she's going to do some good damage. But the good thing to know is that when she does her second skill, it is a buff. So when she does that, it applies Solidify, which is a 30% resistance for 3 turns, and that can be stacked on one ally. And if there are debuffs, they are removed, and an additional Solidify effect is applied for every debuff removed. So basically, she can just stack up her resistance, and then she can do a lot more damage from that. So it's good to know to keep that in mind, that she can be pretty decent. But I'll keep her at A tier for now. Red Gila, honestly, I'm not even going to look at her because she's not even worth talking about. You have Blue King. This Blue King is fairly decent, but you're not going to really use him that much. At one point, there is a king that you can use, but that's going to be later on in, like, you know, probably a couple months whenever you get into like the super boss battles. That's when you have to use like certain units. But for what this one is, he doesn't really do much. He's kind of useless. He'll do some kind of damage, but he's not that good. He's really good with defense though, because he also does assumes a stance for 1 turn, which inflicts damage equal to 400% of attack via counter when an ally is attacked. So he can be pretty good for defense because he takes a stance, which is good. So he won't take too much damage, but he'll still attack you back. This red Jericho, she's good because she is, well, based off of her passive is what I look at. She boosts up the red type units by 10%. So she's basically like, who was it? Yeah, Elizabeth. This red Elizabeth. So that's good to know. Keep in mind, but she does the HP. She does the attack. So it's good to know. Kane, he's good for a I think it was Crimson. No, it wasn't Crimson. I think it was, I don't remember exactly which one it was, but he is good to run for one of the boss raids. If you guys know, let me know in the comments below. I just don't remember how well he is for it. But he is going to be good based off of, I believe, his passive. His passive is going to be increases all allies attack related stats by 10% in deathmatch. So I think in deathmatch, which is going to be demon raids, he's good for that reason. So that's good to know. So keep in mind that he is going to be based off of HP and defense just in case. But he doesn't really do much other than ignite. So I think he's good for crimsons, which you guys will see later on. The reason why is because ignites is going to give an additional boost of 10% whenever you are attacking a demon, basically. So you're going to do a lot more damage, especially if you had this red demon Meliodas, but we're not going to talk about him. Then you have SR Meliodas. He's good because he does a full counter. Even though it's not too strong, he can do pretty good damage from it. He is actually supposed to be really good for story mode, and that's what he was meant for. But we're not going to talk about that too much. You guys have already gotten SR Meliodas. I'm pretty sure a lot of you had to awaken him to UR. But I would say don't use him too much, just because if you have the green Meliodas on the top over here, God tier unit, definitely you should be good to go. This Slater. Now this red Slater is pretty good. So you will later on use him for a specific reason, and that's going to be the training cave. And I know you guys have seen the training cave on the bottom. You just can't access it currently, but you will use him later on for that, and he is pretty good for that reason. But currently, as he is not that great, other than he does do lifesteal, which is good. A lot of these units do lifesteal, which is pretty good as it's basically taking a life away from the enemy and giving it back to yourself. So that's good. But the good thing about him is that his second attack or second skill is a debuff, which is going to decrease attack related stats of one enemy by 40% and disables everything but attack skills for 3 turns. So if you're playing at a specific thing, this is where he's good for the training cave, and you'll understand why I say that. But for now, I'll put him in A tier because I think he belongs there. B tier, these are all the units that you really won't use. I honestly will say this right now, these are all the units you will not use, other than using it for training cave later on in the game. But that's more of the end game style whenever that does happen. So I would say don't even worry about any of these units. If you do pull these units, what I will say is make sure to get them 6/6 on their ultimate, because these are SR units you definitely will be pulling throughout the game. So if you guys can do that, make sure to get that to SA 6/6, because that will be good for you for just in case as having a sub partner. You know how you guys can have those sub partners, keep those as your sub partners just in case, because they will give you some boost for that reason, for giving SA 6/6, as well as giving them pretty good gear, and they'll do some not damage, they'll do some kind of boost for your full main team. I would say this blue Jericho is really good though for a sub partner, so I would say keep her you know, around just in case. Don't not sell her, but don't get rid of her like out of your life and not use her, but make sure to keep her around and keep her as a partner for, let's just say, bonds. I think it was I don't remember which bond it was. I think it was the red bond that you guys will catch on to later on, but those are all the units that I would say that really don't worry about at all. And then C tier, I don't even think they were even worth mentioning. They're just not even useful. They don't really do much for you in the game, honestly. Even during the global version or later on in the game, they're not really useful that much. Griamore. Alright guys, that's gonna do it for today's video, guys. Make sure to go ahead and drop a like on today's video, guys, if you did enjoy. If you guys have any kind of controversial talks on this actual tier list, let me know in the comments below. I'm very curious on what you guys think about this as well. And if you guys have any kind of, like, you know, idea of where you guys would put the tier list, or where specific unit would go in which category, let me know in the comments below. And of course, if you guys are new to the channel, guys, if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to the channel, guys. Thank you guys so much for supporting the channel. You guys have been growing like crazy, and we're gonna keep on growing as long as you guys have been keeping up that support for this channel. But that's gonna do it for today's video, guys. Have a great day.